Thank you for agreeing to being interviewed. We'd like you to begin by telling us your name, and if you're comfortable, your age, and how many children you have.
I'm Mary McDowell, and I'm the mother of five, and I'm 93 years old.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm glad that you were willing to be interviewed. We would love for you to share some suggestions to parents of Black children about how to help their children do the best that they can in the school setting. So, everything from what you did at home, for how, in terms of how you interacted with the school system and the teachers, etc., and just anything that you think would be useful.
Well, I can say that you must start with your children at an early age and teach them to respect themselves, and you respect them. And one of the things I really would stress here that don't say negative things to your children, like telling them they're bad or anything like that. You always tell the children to be proud of who they are, and you have to treat them that way. You have to treat your children with respect, and they'll respect you, and they'll feel proud of themselves when they go out into the school and playing, even playing with children. They learn to respect them, and you must be respectful, and you must feel that you are important. You are important. And that's one of the things I taught my children to always feel that we don't do this and we don't say that. We are very proud of we are proud people, and we don't use those statements or derogatory statements. We don't use them. We just don't use them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Excellent.
that's one of the things that I taught them at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
And before the kids go to school, parents should take time with them and teach them basic things like numbers and letters, and buy them toys that express those things. And you just have to work with them as long, like, start early and work with them all along. And as they get a little older, you play games with them, play name games, spelling states, spelling school, spelling, just spell things that they come in contact with every day. We learn how to spell those things just sitting around in a family setting.
Mm-hmm.
And we all do. And I learned a lot from my children because I'm not an educator, and I didn't believe in sending my kids to special schools. They were educated in the public school system,
Mm-hmm.
but they knew their purpose was to learn, and they were eager to learn, and they were eager. They asked me questions, and then they would challenge me. Somehow, can you spell so and so? Because I'm not an educator, and I learned a lot from my children.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. What about in terms of how you interact with the school system?
pardon me.
What about in terms of how you interact with the school system? Like talking to
Oh
teachers.
yeah. Well, I became involved with the PTA. I don't know what they call it nowadays, but back then, way back, it was the PTA. So I joined the PTA and would attend frequently, and eventually I became president of the PTA. So that meant I visit the schools and visit the classrooms, and just went about finding out what we could do as parents to help our children. You know.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I know that you've talked before about situations in which you felt your children weren't being as challenged as they needed to be in the school system. What approaches or what did you do to try to make sure your children were getting the appropriate stimulation?
Well, I tried to introduce them to the arts. That it's more to learning than just in the classroom. It's learning to do other things, like if you're interested in music or dancing or whatever. So I would try to put them in that environment that they would learn to do those things. Learning is not just what you learn in the classroom; it's what you learn about life in general.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
So, could you tell a story about one thing that you did? So, you said about the arts, but in particular, what was one thing that you did for one of your children who was struggling with engagement in school?
Yeah. Well, I had one son that he was very bright, and he knew all the answers to all of the questions, and whatever the teacher gave him assignments, he would get it done, but he would be bored. She said he would just sit there, and no, she just couldn't understand what she could do. And I thought of whatever I could do. I said, oh, so I purchased me a used piano and started him taking piano lessons. And he was really interested in that. And I had another son, older, a little older than him. He became interested in it. I had to pay for him to take music lessons too. So this is how things go with children. They are eager to learn from each other. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. That definitely helps us out a lot. Um, Maybe you can also talk to us about how you talk to your children about the purpose of going to school. What did you instill in them? What did you tell them?
Oh, I let them know. Well, I explained to them that the purpose of going to school is to learn all you can from your teacher, because that's what she's there for, to teach you. And you need to learn whatever you can from her, not to be trying to keep up with all the styles and all the dance and all the things that kids do, and let's say the expensive sneakers and all that kind of stuff. This is not what school is about. School is about learning, and they understood that, and they didn't bother me about buying expensive clothes and expensive shoes and whatnot, like some of the kids do. Some of the kids wear these expensive clothes and things, and they are making very poorly in grades. And I let them know it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to come home with a low mark in school. That's not acceptable. We don't do that. We don't do that. We do our best. We do our best. And that's what they learned, and I didn't have to worry about when that report card came. I already knew it would be above standard. So it was that was the they knew that they was coming home, and they were eager to bring their report card home. And uh, and they were eager to go to the library. That's another thing. They love to go to the library, and that was interesting because a lot of books that like a home have a lot of books. I didn't have a lot of books, but I bought what I could. I had a couple of encyclopedias there for them to use as references. So you have to put things in the hands of children while they're learning, because it's a lot of stuff they can learn more than just going to the classroom. You gotta teach them, and you gotta travel with them too, and that's good to travel. Send them on field trips, and you take them on trips to learn that there's more to life than just our surroundings, the area where we live. There's a big world out there, and go and see, and they are adventures. They were adventures, and they all live very far apart, and they still do because they are interested in different parts of the country, interested in what's going on other places, not just standard at what's happening here in my neighborhood or in my city. They are interested in what's going on all over the world, and I admire them for it. And they takes me on trips. I've been to a lot of places I never would have seen.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think that a lot of parents can learn quite a bit from what you've shared today.
Hmm. I did want to add one more thing that really informs us about why we interviewed you, because we wanted to talk about, just mention what you produced. So a lot of times people ask about Dr. West or myself of what were our parents like, and they think that our parents were college educated, have PhDs also, and so on. And I think what's extraordinary, but also ordinary about our family is that no, mom and dad were not college graduates. So when you went to school, how far did you go when you were a child in school? What was your final grade until they got?
The 11th, midterm 11th, and I struggled as I got an adult, and I wanted to go back to school, and then they started the program with the GED. So
Mm,
I studied and got my GED, and that's very far as I ever got. Oh yeah, so
beautiful. And dad, how far did dad go?
Dad didn't. I don't know exactly about Dad. So whether he went through the seventh or eighth grade or something like that.
Mm-hmm,
Hmm.
mm-hmm.
But he was very good at mechanical. He was very good at anything. He could fix cars. He could do plumbing work, electrical work. He could do all kinds of work. He just was real handy. So
Mm-hmm.
that was helpful too. And the boys would travel with him to do these odd jobs and thing, and they
Mm-hmm.
learn to do a lot too. And
Mm-hmm.
all of that is educational. Whatever you learn
Absolutely.
to do, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you're good at.
Yes,
Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. And so what you produced two children with PhDs. You produced two children who graduated from Ivy League schools, and another from Stanford University. All of your children graduated from college, and one is an engineer, another is a computer technician.
And also with
A
the music
musician,
lessons, you have a musician.
musician,
And yes, and two
two
musicians
musicians,
and one artist. Absolutely.
Very well known,
Yeah.
A
famous
very
artist.
well known, famous artist.
Oh yeah.
So that's why we wanted to share your story with people so that they can understand that regardless of your educational background, that you can produce excellence in Black children. Thank you.
Thank you.